Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us for the Zeald Webinar series, Keep Calm and Get Digital. My name is Rhonda, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. We have been delivering informative webinars with a lot of valuable information to support businesses to adapt and change to the new way of doing business. Every week, we are discovering new challenges that are happening in the marketplace, and we are paying attention to these challenges and designing webinars to help navigate through them. There is a saying that there are only two constants in life, tax and death. I think we should add one more, and that is change. As business owners, you need to be constantly changing and adapting your business in order to survive. Needing to change how we do business can take some time to get your head around, and this is why we've been doing these webinars to help you in your business transformation process. Today, our webinar topic is Social Media 101, and our expert today is Lisa Mayer. I'll just resume that, our share. So Lisa is Zeald's Client Services Manager. Lisa has a varied professional background from working on dairy farms to working with top New Zealand corporates. At Zeald, Lisa is a guru of our systems and processes and holds a particular passion for helping SME businesses to adapt and transform to the online world. I'm really looking forward to hearing your webinar soon, Lisa. Just some housekeeping before we get started. If you've got problems with audio at all, the settings on the bottom left there can really help. Just have a play with those and you should be able to hear a bit better. If you have a question that you'd like to ask through the session, please use the Q&A section or the chat. You can use either one of those and I'll be monitoring them through the session. We also will be having a section at the end of the webinar after Lisa's presented where we can ask her lots of questions. So please just get them into me. This raise your hand area is if you want to actually break into the webinar and be your voice to be heard for everybody to hear. You're welcome to raise your hand if you do think you've got something that you'd want to contribute. If you missed something today, don't worry. We will be putting this webinar recording up on our webinar library, which is available on our website, zeald.com, and also available on our YouTube channel. But welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Rhonda, and thanks for the introduction there. So like Rhonda said, today we are focusing on the topic Social Media 101. Now it is one that we have covered off elements on before, but through the requests we've been getting for our webinars, it's one that keeps popping up. So today just want to spend some time covering off some items we have in other webinars, but just really focusing on social media today. So what we're doing under that is we are covering off different social media platforms, always a good start, the different types of marketing posts, and in particular, I guess, which posts relate to what platforms, video versus text in social media, and then the golden one, which is community management, which is often overlooked. So first of all, so there's a lot of social media platforms out there, and it might be hard knowing where to start. One key factor in order to pick a social media is thinking about where your audience will be. So who are more likely to be your customers, and where will they be in the social media world? Other questions you can also ask here is, where are your competitors mostly active? Where are they? What platforms are they using? How are they connecting to their customers? And at times you can also focus on those bigger brands that potentially sell in the same area too. And then another aspect of this is just what type of content you have to offer to your customers as well will help you pick a platform. I think another important bit here with platforms is don't just try to do all of them. Don't, I guess, flood yourself with having to manage, 4, 5, 6 platforms. Doing that just means that the quality is going to drop, and so therefore, and you might not have the time and then stress about it as well. So it's always a good idea to focus on 1 or 2, get that right, and then start exploring further. So for today's webinar as well, we are just going to be covering the most common platforms. If I was to probably go through all social media platforms, I would be here for quite a while. So first up, we have Facebook. So Facebook I've put first because it is still dominating the social media market. It has the most users worldwide. And it continues to hold this at the moment. It's also linked with Instagram, which again helps boost the market that it's got. It is really quite simple to use, and generally when they do updates, it retains that simplicity factor. It's also one that connects very easily with websites through share features. So this quite often is really good to look for in a platform, because you want to be able to post content or items, or just reviews, etc., on potentially mainly your website, and then have that easily connect to the platforms you're using outside of your website. And so Facebook is a good one for connecting and having those share features. It also has a ton of content options. So it has text, so just words on a post. It has images, so being able to add an image, such as the one in the slide here, to your text. And it also has the capability for video. And in fact, video is really being boosted at the moment. And then last of all, because it has dominated the social media market and so has so many users on it, it has a very wide range of audience types. So what that means for any business really is it's going to be most likely suitable for you to use, because at least maybe your demographic, or if you're targeting other businesses, they're more likely to be on Facebook. So next up we have, and I did touch on it, Instagram's connected to Facebook, so I thought I'd cover it off next. So Instagram though is more your visual platform. So you need to think, if you're going to be focusing on Instagram, you have high quality imagery and unique photos that stand out. So if you think about it, you're scrolling through Instagram and you're stuck in this food, lots of food images. You want to be the food image that stands out. So like I said, yeah, focusing on high quality images and what will make you stand out. I think a good, I guess, analogy to how we see it, quite often you'll see that, well, I've noticed at least a lot of change in our restaurants and cafes. Most of the time now when food comes to me, it's plated in a certain way to make it what they call now Instagrammable, so that you will then share your picture, you'll post the cafe or restaurant you're at, and then potentially be getting them customers through your network of people on Instagram. One thing with Instagram as well though, you cannot share from websites, because Instagram is about capturing and experiences. It's not about writing a blog and then posting that to Instagram, whereas Facebook and some of the other platforms are more utilized in that way. Another thing with Instagram is hashtagging. So that's basically what it uses to make content more discoverable. And I think you can easily fall into a trap of using too many hashtags. So when it comes to Instagram, if it is going to be the platform you're looking to use, I think one thing here is you need to define your core business hashtags, and be conscious not to over hashtag. So don't just put 100 hashtags so you hit everything. Sort of stick to a good, 5, 8, or 10 that you're sort of really targeting each time. I think with Instagram as well, even though it does have that wide range of users and obviously is getting a boost from that with its connection to Facebook, it is a bit more limited in its audience than Facebook. So you do need to consider things like, is Instagram actually a fit for my business and brand and what I'm trying to do? I touched on it already, you're a cafe or a restaurant, so I think Instagram can be have some really good potential for that. But let's say you're sort of offering a service where you come and fix people's roofs. It might not be something that someone on Instagram is really looking for, unless you have really high stylized roofs that are unique and going to fit in. So yeah, touched on it. So Facebook and Instagram are linked. So this is, I guess, a 2-for-1 deal. If you are doing Facebook, you can very easily just go, yes, share it on Instagram too. So there is that luxury there. And so while you could be maybe only focusing on Facebook predominantly, you can easily then just fire off the odd things through to Instagram too, and potentially slowly build that up as a secondary platform for yourself. So the next one I'm covering off, and to move away from so much of, I guess, the business to customer side of things and more to what I would consider a business to business platform, is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has, I guess, a major difference in its audience. So when you're thinking of LinkedIn, it's for businesses to connect and network with other companies, brands, and professionals. So that's what you would be more looking to use this platform for. And it is one where it's useful for all types of businesses still. So, got it in there. So it's really utilized to promote the brand, promote who you are, and promote, you know, what you're doing out there. Whereas you use Facebook and Instagram to promote your brand, but potentially then follow on with backing that up with the services or the products that you're selling. Similarities to Facebook though, so LinkedIn can easily fit in with what you're doing and be potential if you're already on Facebook or you're looking to do Facebook first. So the similarities are that it has lots of content options and they're the same. So it has text, it has images, and it has video. So this is where, you know, previously we've talked about it a few times. It's about having repurposing your content. So if you have a video and it's sort of introducing your company and your business and your brand, you know, why would you not post it on a few different avenues, and saying that, yes, you might be focusing mainly on driving your customers through Facebook, let's say, but when you have those moments where you've got some content and it could be right across different platforms you have and you might not be focusing on, you should post it there as well. Cool. So our last one that I am covering off today is YouTube. So YouTube is very much a video driven platform. So you need to not be thinking about text and images here. You really need to be thinking about videos. And so when you're doing this, the video advertising in particular is a good area where you can use text and image, but it's in a video format. But you do need to sort of think about what you're already doing. Is video part of that? Is it something that I can allow myself to have the time for to do each week or each fortnight, depending on what that schedule looks like for you? When you are doing this type of advertising in particular, it's not so much sort of a day-to-day thing. You're more looking week-to-week posting. And it also has, though, a very wide range of audiences. So YouTube is very varied. It has a lot of options out there. And so I think one key thing with YouTube is at times thinking about if it's suited for you and your business. So another key thing though with YouTube, which does differentiate from LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram, is it is linked through Google advertising. So if you're already doing Google ads, you may easily be able to get some small videos put together and then be utilizing the video advertising on YouTube as well. For some businesses, you know, this is where you're starting to think, if you have existing TV budget or you have existing radio budget, this is potentially where you would extend the reach through to YouTube or potentially repurpose some of that. YouTube is, again, it's TV on the go a lot of the time. And so, you know, if people are going from A to B, they might have YouTube on, or someone in the car might have YouTube on, depending on where they're going. And so it's obviously a great way to be advertising to those people as well. So I think before you really delve into what platform, I sort of touched on the different content types that they have. And so this is where you need to be starting to think about what can I as a business owner or be able to sort of create each week or each month in order to post on my platforms. So the content types that I did cover off, and I'm going to go into more detail here, is text-based content. So this is where the text is the main part of the content that you want your audience to engage with. So reading an article or a blog, for example, something that is mainly text-driven. You then have image-based content. This is where the image is center and focused. Oh, let me just check. No, oh, sorry, I clicked too far. Image-based content where the image is center and focused, and you are aiming to drive an emotion engagement with your audience here through the image. So you may have a little bit of text or narrative around that image, or the image could be really powerful in a standalone image. And then last, you have video-based content. So it's a combination of image and text to get your message across to your users. So as I mentioned under YouTube, you will need to be thinking short, sharp, and snappy. You basically have to capture someone's attention within those first 5 to 10 seconds of the video. You don't want them waiting a minute to understand what it's about. So I think a key thing here is really sit down, think about the content that you can commit to creating or having created for you, and then how that aligns with your brand. And then working backwards from there, you can work out, you know, what platform really is going to be best for you, and often leads to why probably people pick something like Facebook, where it is, you can have all 3 types, and it doesn't really, you know, have a negative effect depending on which one that you post the most of. So my expert tip here is that if you're just starting out, pick one platform and do it well. Don't overextend yourself by trying to manage it all. As with social media comes my last topic of today as well, community management and community engagement. So you will also need to be across that. So the more platforms you're trying to do at once, if you're not someone who doesn't have the time because you're trying to run other aspects of your business or there's other elements to the job that you're doing, it may not be a good idea to spread yourself too thin here. So, you know, now that you've sort of worked out what content that you're going to be putting together, and also picked your social media platform probably at this point, it's now a good idea to really understand the different types of posts that you can do on these platforms. So the first one to cover off here is organic. So organic posts are is content. That's the first thing that it is, and it's not driven by any paid advertising. So what that means is it does give you the flexibility to be posting what you want when you want. But one recommendation I do have here is having some sort of posting or ideas schedule anyway. It helps you sort of keep focus and keep momentum on what you're doing. Great. So organic content mostly engages and reaches your existing audience as well. So if you don't have a large following, that is something you're going to need to think about and be trying to monitor your posts to get that following behind you. But organic will most likely hit your existing audience first, and then what you're wanting them to do is like it, comment on it, or share it with people that are in their network and not necessarily following you. So, you know, it's always good when you can to have little offers or little bits of advice that people will want to, well, or maybe not know about, and so want to share with their friends and family and their network they have. But it is important to note that there's different algorithms on the different platforms. So even then, you know, you're still looking at potentially 1 to 2% of your followers or subscribed fans really getting those organic posts. And it isn't until the interaction on those really boosts that you'll start getting more and more people seeing those organic posts. So that brings me to this point. So the higher the engagement on posts, the higher the reach that you're more likely to get with these. So yep, having content the audience likes, comments and shares. So running competitions sometimes works, you know, giving away a $20 gift voucher, tag your friend in this, or, you know, have a free 30-minute session or consultation with us, you know, tag your friend or tag 3 friends, things like that to get people engaging with it. So my expert tip here is, have a posting schedule. So that really covers off how often you will post, what content you will post, and it really, I guess it just helps you keep to something and even be organized and pre-prepared. So you could have all your posts lined up for the month, and therefore you don't have to sort of think about it in that month. It doesn't mean that you can't change that. So of course you can jump in and change it, but it just helps you have that guideline in place and not be something that you're constantly having to do every day or week or think about it in that area. So next up, we have, well, the next level up really from organic is what's called boosted or sponsored posts. So these are essentially your existing organic posts, but you've either boosted or sponsored them. So you are now putting some money towards that post to really start getting that reach out to other people. So with these, they are a very quick way to set up advertising on a specific post. It's very quick and simple setup instructions. And in fact, for some who potentially already are on Facebook, you'll notice sometimes you do a post and a couple of hours later, you'll be looking at Facebook and it will actually come and go, make this a boosted post, and it will show you what potentially it could get for you and some details around that. So Facebook even does try to actually drive you towards these. You can stop and start it very easily because it's not tied into, you know, your a major advertising campaign. And I think some good keys here around why you should do them or when you should do them more than that is look at the current engagement of it on a post. So let's say you've done a post, you're getting, you know, 50, 100 likes on it, you know, people are really engaging with it. That could be a good example of a post that people like. They want to see that type of content from you. So boost it and get it out to more people. You also need to take into consideration, you know, is it a news article? Is it a one-off milestone? So a news article, you know, I'm more likely to go, let's boost this because it's about something that you're doing that's been shared in the news. Whereas one-off milestones, you know, is it important for people to know this milestone? Those are the considerations you need to make when you're thinking about whether to boost a post or not. I think the next thing with a boosted or a sponsored post that you need to ensure you have as well is that it has a business outcome associated to it. So don't just boost any post and not have anything associated for it. You want to be able to get something out of it. So now that you're putting money into it, make sure that there's an email sign up. Make sure that they need to come, like they're going to be driven through to your website to purchase something. Make sure that, you know, there's some type of engagement and reason why they should then interact with this post when you are boosting or sponsoring it. And expert tip here. So if you are just starting out, you need to make sure you include a target audience. So this is a very key bit. If you are doing boosting or sponsored posts, the options, like I said, are pretty straightforward. A lot of the details there for you, and it does help guide you, but you can skip them. And so I recommend don't do that. Just make sure that you include some sort of target audience. It might not be right, but at least it's not just going out to anyone and everyone, and it's potentially going out to the wrong people. You've at least tailored it in some way towards people who should have an interest in your products and your service and your business. And then the last one for today around the different types of marketing posts is campaign and display. So campaign and display are formal and structured advertising approaches. They take constant review and refining to ensure your advertising spend is being utilised to get the best return on investment. So campaigns have very clear business outcomes, that e.g., the campaign's being set up to drive people to read the ebook. They will have creative, so ad copy or designed banners or a video, like an actual edited video for your business and your brand. They will have a delivery plan. So it will have a clear plan and delivery strategy. The campaign will be running for X amount of days with a spend of how much per day. So it's that sort of thought process behind it. It will also have reports and reviews. So whenever you're doing a campaign or display, you should be wanting to see reports and reviews. If you're doing it yourself, you'll need to work out what you want to report and review on. But I think really when you're starting to head into campaign and display area, if you don't know social media platforms, if you're not really an expert in marketing or have the knowledge around marketing, I would suggest that you start looking for advice in this area, because it's when it's a paid advertising, and it's pay per click most of the time. So yeah, most campaigns utilize the pay per click option, and so you do not want your money wasted on clicks that aren't going to benefit you at all. So so yeah, expert tip, just touched on it as well. So if you aren't sure how, engage a specialist. And I think that's just really key there. I know a lot of the time I've heard stories of people going, oh, I'm a bit burnt by AdWords. I've tried running it myself. I didn't really see the results. And a lot of the time it's because there's a lot of understanding there. And as much as Google and everyone builds these robots basically to do some of this work, there's also the angle that you actually need to have the strategy and ideas around the marketing space and how to engage the audience and your audience and your business brand in order to get the results. So there's that element that robots and AI haven't learned. So next up is just video versus text, just a real quick one on this. Text works, there's no denying it. Someone reading something, it works. Blogs, articles, they all work, and that's where your text generally is. But video is more engaging these days. But I do find it funny because I'll watch videos and they'll be on silent and I'll actually be reading the subtitles. So a bit strange there, and shows me that text is still working, but obviously the video is probably keeping me a bit more engaged. I think if it's something that you haven't really engaged with, it's always good to try it out. Don't be scared to try it out. But if it's something that you don't quite have time for right now, then keep forward with your text area. And when you are starting out, it doesn't need to be super polished. It can be a quick video on the phone, especially on platforms like Facebook and Instagram. You can do little quick live videos. Let's say you ran a competition. Why just post up the winner? Why not just do a little video with, here's what we're giving away, and so you're showing that, and then you're showing grabbing a name out and posting that. That's a good way to start and see if it is something that you want to do. And like everything, you can refine and improve it over time if it's just not quite worked out first time round. So the expert tip again, so yeah, get subtitles on your videos. Most of the programs do this automatically for you, but it is just a good idea to make sure that you are having those, because like I said, I'm someone who watches videos, but I'll read the subtitles instead and have the video on mute. Now, the last one that I am touching on today, and it is important, is community management. And I won't be spending too much time on it because it is pretty simple, but it is often the forgotten piece when looking at what platform you're picking, and also, what you actually have to do after you've done a post or paid advertising. So you need to respond to your community to help create engagement. It's a very key way that you can create that engagement, which then has a flow-on effect to getting more people viewing your posts and getting more engagement and growing. So, if someone leaves a comment, like the comment, or if there's no response that's needed, or if there is a response, then write a response. Have a document as well of standard responses. You know, if you've got trickier comments, or sometimes you're not quite sure how to deal with a comment, or you're having someone help you out, just have a document with some standard responses or some standard frequently asked question answers, and that way people can just be posting that up easily without having to spend too much time on it. I think you also need to be in the mindset of basically, when someone is engaging with you through social media, it is the equivalent of them picking up the phone and calling your business. So when you do not engage back with them, it is essentially you hanging up the phone. So that's a good way to look at engagement and why you should respond. And I think regardless of if it's a trickier comment, if it's something that you don't really want to respond with, that you still should put something, because that looks better than nothing. And then I've gone on about it enough, but respond. So that is the only expert tip when it comes to the community, is just respond. Negative, positive, anything like that, just respond. In particular for negative, do a response that will then take it offline. So hear your concerns, would love to talk about this further with you. Can you please, you know, send me your phone number in an email, or, you know, feel free to ring us on X phone number. So think, if it's negative, try and take it offline. But obviously if it's positive or doesn't need a response, engage in some way. Oh, there we go. There we go, perfect for today. So that's all I have. We're now moving into our questions element.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. I really appreciate that. I actually learnt a few things there. Now's a good time, if you've got questions, to just pop them through on the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen, and we can ask Lisa them directly. But Lisa, we had a question from Emma, and I think it's actually a really good one. She's saying, what should we be putting more resources into, boosted posts or Facebook ads? And for me, I often get those two kind of confused, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I think, again, it's hard to say. So depending on your business and how much money, I guess, you're putting into it. If it's something where you're just starting out and you're testing the water, I'd recommend starting off with some boosted posts. But when you look at Facebook ads, this is where I talked about campaigns. So when you're talking about Facebook ads, this is where you're going to want to have a clear business objective of what you're doing, what the outcome needs to be, and some creative around that. And then you need to be thinking about, these are the ads we're running, this is what we're wanting to achieve from it, and be having some sort of report or review around that. And that's why, if you're not sure on the area, or it's not a specialty of you, or it's not, you know, you haven't really done marketing in your business before, it's generally best to engage a specialist, or at least get some advice in this space first for Facebook ads, because you can easily spend a lot of money very quickly just by one setting being wrong. Okay, so yeah, whereas boosted posts slightly different, you can just quickly go, this is what the budget is, and it will just go off and do its thing for a little while, and you can quickly stop it.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Lisa. I've got a question here from Paula. If you have a members only group on Facebook, is this good for reach?
So members only group will only reach members only. So if you've got quite a large following though, it can be good within that group. But if you post something in there and someone wants to share it, and they share it with their network and they're not part of the group, they're just going to see this content is unavailable. So I know of a clothing shop up here.
Yeah, Shine On. I was just thinking about them. Their closed group's quite famous in New Zealand, actually.
Yeah, so they have their Shine On Facebook page, which is really the business, promoting business and all of that. Then they have a members only page, which isn't shared as much. You know, you have to be part of the page, but it's amazing. They have competitions, you can go in to win things, you hear about products that are coming out, early release. It's almost like, I guess, taking it back to when we had mail, you know, you used to get you used to be part of the VIP group, so you would get the catalogue a bit earlier, or you'd get these things a bit earlier than others, or you'd be notified of a special sale for your VIPs only between 5 and 9. That's how they've utilised the members only area. but also in saying that, anyone can join it. So you can just ask and you can be let in. I think one thing I don't know for sure, it might be females only in that group though.
No,
Just
I think
because, is it?
males.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I can't
Yeah,
remember off the top of my
yeah.
head. I think I'm part of another members group, which I know is females only, just for what they're doing. And so sometimes it also just creates that environment for their target audience as well. But you would still want to have both, really.
Thanks, Lisa. And another question here from Paula. Are hashtags helpful on Facebook and LinkedIn as well as Instagram?
So yeah, well, they're not as much as such. Facebook and LinkedIn have started using it, but it's not really how it's driven. So Instagram, you can go on and it's known. Everyone knows to go on Instagram and you search hashtags. And even when you're actually just trying to find something, most of the things that come up first are hashtags. Facebook, LinkedIn still use the good old search where you just type in a name or you start typing in a business. You can type in hashtags and there's search elements to that, but it's not the main search driver as something as Instagram is. Yes.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. I think they're getting more popular on Facebook, but it's not the driver, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Mark's got a question here. For B2B markets, which social media would you consider best?
Yep. So without knowing, I guess, the businesses you are trying to target, it is a bit hard. You would, if you're trying to build more, I guess, wholesale distributor relationships, you're probably starting to look more towards LinkedIn because it's a way that you're trying to engage other business owners who potentially want to on-sell your products or have that relationship with you. However, in saying that, it's also good to not shy away from Facebook if that's where, I guess, most of your businesses or where they even target are. So I think, sometimes a good, I guess, larger scale volume of way of looking at this, is, like Waddies and Griffins. They have pages on Facebook where they advertise their products, but can you go to Waddies and Griffins and buy their products? No. Okay, you still go to the supermarket and that's where you buy it, but what they're doing is trying to get people to engage with their products and be recognizing them so that when they go to the supermarket, they see, Waddies and Heinz, and the person goes, oh, Waddies, I always see Waddies, I always see them, and so they're going to go for that. So if that's what you're trying to achieve, then you still need to be focusing on Facebook and where those end customers are. But if you're purely just trying to build your more business type relationships, that's when you start looking at LinkedIn.
I do know LinkedIn, and even just from my own personal profile, it comes across like your more business advice kind of interactions and businesses posting advice on there. So yeah, like you're saying, it probably depends what type of businesses you're trying to go for and what kind of interaction you're trying to get. Yeah. Raywan's asking, I'm not very computer-wise, computer savvy. She can use Facebook ads, but don't know how to edit a video.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of programs out there that will help you sort of edit videos for free. So generally you can be able to sort of, Google search free video editing programs. I know like YouTube itself, you actually log in and you upload a video, it lets you edit it right there and then. So there's lots of tools around and there'll be, funny enough, there'll be lots of YouTube videos on how to edit videos.
True.
So I think that's a great way to sort of look at it. And then it's down to you sort of, I guess it comes then down to quality and what type of editing tools you want as to if you need to pay for them or use free ones and things like that.
My tip would be if you've got someone in your family who's a high school student or a university student, get them to do it for you. They learn this tech stuff so easy. I know my son's done some video editing for me just for personal stuff, but it takes him half the length of time and he can just Google what program to use, bring up something, and he manages it quite quickly. So yeah, don't forget about that kind of level of resource. They can be really helpful.
Yeah.
Got a question here from Amika. Members only public is a great stepping stone into members private. It's a a way to create FOMO, but also get a standard. Ah, nice. Thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely
nice
agree with that.
point. Yeah. When you submit a post on LinkedIn, check the URL to see what hashtags get stored as well. So some good tips there from Amika. Thank you.
I think that's similar, not so much for URLs on Facebook, but I think quite often people will post something from their website through to Facebook and they'll go, oh, why is the image I want not showing? And so unlike Google uses meta tags, metadata.
Right.
Facebook does too, but they call it Open Graph. That's what they use for it. And so you need to at times also check, is your website set up so that you can use Open Graph to then pull the right images, text, etc. across to Facebook as well, just to extend on that. But no, great advice there.
Yeah. If you rank the effectivity of each social media platform, what is the top 5 in a particular order?
I think that one's, it's actually more relevant towards each business and what you're trying to do. I don't really think there's a top 5 for every, I guess, exercise that you could potentially be marketing for. If it's a business to business, you might, depending on what they are trying to drive, you might not necessarily rank Facebook top 1. Whereas if you are someone who's local in the area, in the region, and your arts and crafts, let's say, Facebook, I would start, or Facebook and Instagram actually would start being top 1, because you can use your website, you can use Facebook, and then you can be sharing that to community groups. So I don't really think there's a top 5. It does come down to your business and what you're trying to achieve and all of that.
Yeah. A question here from Patrick. Benefits of posting to LinkedIn profiles versus pages?
Yeah, not quite sure if benefits so much. I think really your profile is that you're someone under the business, whereas the page is actually the business page. So I think that's probably more the difference there. If you're trying to grow the business and get that out there, the brand out there, or get known, you obviously would want to drive that from the business page to people. But if you're, say, a business development manager or an owner of a business, you would then want to share potential posts from the page, or you write your own posts and you connect it through to your business page. So there still would be some connection either way.
Mm-hmm. I'm loving these questions, by the way. Awesome. Sunila has a question. How do you find most appropriate hashtags for your business? And some easy tips on how to find those hashtags, please.
I mean, it's really keywords. What would you sort of go and search? I love cats, so I was going to go look at something. I'd look at cats. I might look at a specific type. Let's say you're a cat breeder. Now that I've gone down this path, so you'd be thinking around the different cats that you breed, things like that. If you're thinking clothes and you only sell, children's clothing, so then children's clothing, toddlers, things like that. The keywords around your brand, and that's sort of what you're looking for. I think one other thing here, which you can do, bit of a cheats method, go see what your competitors are doing. Or go and see a business that you're aspiring to. So they might be a rather large brand business. Go see what they're doing. There's no harm in sort of doing that research.
And some of the ones I've noticed is key brands. They definitely, if a brand is represented there, they'll put definitely the brand there as the hashtag as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think trends come and go. So as we know, when lockdown happened in March, one of the biggest hashtags and keywords that started going around was NZ made, NZ product, NZ first. So people were trying to push the whole fact that we're NZ owned, we're NZ operated, we're an NZ product. That sort of started coming, and that's a trend. Whether that trend will be here in a couple of years' time still, don't know, but you need to be aware of that at the time you're posting as well. Christmas is coming up. We'll start seeing, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas, Boxing Day sales, things like that.
Awesome. A question from Paula. If your target persona is a professional woman, which channel would you choose to master first?
Depends what you're selling, but generally would start looking at Facebook. And if that's what you're selling or doing. Let's say you were not, it was a certain type of service and it was more for those who are working in a business space, then it's LinkedIn still, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, more context there would help, but
I'm just thinking, what would I be looking for when I'm on Instagram, right? I'm liking to see pictures. So if it's food related or product related, I'd be looking Insta or Facebook. But if it's more business support, mentoring, something to help me professionally, then I'd be looking on LinkedIn. So yeah, the product does really, combined with the persona type, I'd imagine, might be a big factor.
Definitely.
Yeah. Where is best to market a high-end B2C product? So, 5K plus, direct to consumers.
Wherever your consumers are. So this is where you're now starting, I guess it's more thinking about your audience, thinking about where your audience most likely is. And if you're marketing something like that, then looking at, I guess, either, well, you most likely not so much the boosted and sponsored, but more Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads, sorry, not LinkedIn, Facebook or YouTube ads, and be then looking at the audience and the demographics you can set around that. Because for me, a 5K product, you'd probably be targeting somewhere quite specific, some sort of demographic, some sort of group that would specifically need that.
What would your advice be to a business offering a very niche product? Like, what sort of social media tactic would you take?
Interesting. I think it's that research first. So is there anyone at all that's also in this niche market? Have a look at what they're doing and what you see is going well, understanding your audience. So again, who am I mostly marketing to? And then where are they most likely going to be? So that's sort of your first steps. And so the research here is going to be quite valuable. Because then that will give you the right guidance on really where to target after that. Let's just say it's Facebook. Then it's sort of like, how am I best going to engage what this offering is? Is it something hard to understand? Then I'd probably do a video, because it's easier to explain things when you're talking about them than it is to read, but you would back up that video with potentially in your posts just some text around it as well. If it's something that's quite easy and stand out to understand, again, it's a photo that potentially really shows off the product that they want. If it, let's just say a light, for example, a lamp in your home, if it's very high-end, high fashion kind of stylized, you would put it in a setting where it stands out, but it looks very, high polished effect. And then you would use that photo on Facebook and Instagram to push to your market. Yeah.
I was remembering I was doing a webinar with Titus the other day, and he was saying influencers can be really helpful as well, which might be a good way to show a unique product and it being used in a unique way if you can get an influencer.
Definitely.
And, yeah. And he was saying that they're not that expensive, or sometimes they're not, and there's channels that you can use to try and find them.
Definitely. If it's an influence that certainly aligns with your brand and your thinking, there are avenues to reach out to them to get them to do this. Sometimes it is just a free product, that's as simple as that, or a free service, and they document that or take photos of that. And it can work really well, but then there can be cost to it. So it is something that you need to explore and really understand, I guess, your brand and your market first, and if that's going to be best.
Yeah. Raywan's asking, we have a website, so I do share items of interest on there. Is this a helpful way of getting products viewed or making a New Zealand-based video?
Cool. So what your website's great. Like, that's, I guess, more the hub. What you would be looking to do with your social media platforms is then push what you're posting on your website out to those to get that level of engagement. So what you're trying to do is basically expand your market and your reach to people. If I don't go, let's say I go to your website every so often, but I don't visit your Facebook page ever. Sorry, no, got that wrong. But I also like your Facebook page. That's what I was meant to say. I'm not going to check every day your website to see if there's something new on there. However, if you did put something new on your website and then you posted it to Facebook, there's a chance that the Facebook algorithm would allow that to pop up on my feed, and I'd go, oh, they've got a new product. I'm interested in that. Let me click through to the website and find out more about it. Okay, so that's just a way to drive more to the hub, which is your website.
Awesome. I know this is going a bit longer, but these questions are brilliant, so I'm just going to keep going. What do you mean by influencer, or how do we approach this?
Yeah, so I don't know so much about approaching that space, but
it's actually on one of our previous webinars.
Yeah.
On social as well, but at a higher level. Yeah. And it's done by Titus. So if you go to our webinar library, you will be able to find it there.
Yeah.
But let's explain what do we mean by an influencer.
Yeah, so an influencer is generally someone who uses social media to promote themselves, really, and they have such a large following that businesses and other people will send them things or engage in their service to promote their product. And so, you think an influencer could have 500,000 people following them, and every day they're posting content that these people see. And so one day it's your product and they go, hey, this is the product, check it out, this is how you use it, or this is what it looks like. And then of the 500,000 people who saw that, you would then feed them through to your website through some link or some sort of, special code. And then, you're just feeding some more engagement and audience through that way. It's not going to be a guarantee that people will buy it. That's, they won't be able to guarantee that, but it's just, I guess, extending that reach through someone who has a large following.
Yeah, and New Zealand does have its own influencers, and they're not necessarily famous outside of the platform. So I follow a couple that are just Instagram people. They're prolifically posting. They're just about their own kind of niche sort of things, but they do get products to share every now and then. They are issuing codes that you can buy off, and it just helps with that general awareness as well. Paula's got a question. Are hashtags useful on YouTube?
Yes, they are. So YouTube also uses hashtags for searchability. I think though, you still with like YouTube, it is, your title of your video is still important if it's a video that you're posting, or and some description in there as well. That's still important because it's all about searchability. But yes, YouTube uses hashtags as well, which makes it useful.
This is an interesting question by Rowan. Actually, there's a lot of discussion about using NZ business, so like New Zealand made. And however, in their range, there's not a lot of products that are made in New Zealand. So to claim New Zealand made, is this a good practice even though the products are not made here?
I think I can't remember all the rules of NZ made, but what you would more target is that you're NZ owned. So you would be NZ owned and operated more rather than NZ made. You want to back that claim up 100%. And I know, I'm not quite sure which one it is, but there are, when you ask to get the actual official tag or be on that database, you do need to prove those things. So,
yeah, it depends which platform you're claiming it, right? So I know Choice, the Facebook group that was about New Zealand made, supporting local, all that sort of stuff. There was a company on there that was New Zealand owned, but their products were made in Australia, and a few people got upset about that, but they defended it and said, no, we're about supporting New Zealand businesses, and they had been verified as a New Zealand business, and therefore they were happy to promote them. So it might depend which group you're claiming it in, and just making sure you're very transparent with it.
And it's that trust and credibility. So like Rhonda touched on, it's that transparency. So if you're not transparent about it and then someone found out that your products weren't made in NZ, you could end up having a bigger headache. So build trust and credibility in the right way. But again, businesses are welcome to do as they please as well.
Awesome. I'm just going to jump here now. I really appreciate that discussion, Lisa. We've got one more. Should we quickly squeeze it in?
Yeah, I was just about to type an answer, but we can squeeze it in.
You said that organic reach is 1 to 2% of followers, subscribers. Does that mean that a non-boosted post on social is only seen by 1 to 2% of followers?
Yeah, so that was sort of the last, I guess, rough estimated percentage. So yeah, that's where it starts out at. As you have more engagement from people, it will grow. So it's not every single organic post that you do. It's then focusing on getting the engagement on it. As it becomes more engaging, your different posts that you keep doing, then that figure can grow. We don't know what, because it's an algorithm that's secret to these platforms. So if they shared them, then everyone would be doing fantastic. Well, actually, no one would, because everyone would be doing the same. But yeah, that's where you would be starting to really start off with that. Not many people will see it, and that's why sometimes you'll see companies that come in and their first strategy or plan is really to attack competitions or give away a code or give away a product, because it's going to build that engagement.
Thanks heaps, Lisa. Just to summarise, being at level 2 or 2.5 is so much better than level 3, yet there is still so much uncertainty in the country and economy because of COVID. One thing we know for sure though is that social media platforms are a good way to connect with your existing and potential customers. There is an opportunity to get ahead of the competition by not trying to conquer all platforms at once. Select one social media platform and really focus your efforts into growing that space. Our prediction is that social media will continue to grow and diversify. So the need to understand where your customers are most likely, it will be a must. And we recommend that due to social media platforms having different algorithms, it will take time to grow your audience and to have your posts getting the interactions you want. Persistence will be a key to growing in this space. Zeald has helped over 15,000 businesses transform digitally over the last 20 years. Zeald provides services through the Regional Business Partners Program. We provide a free strategy or website audit session with our team of experienced digital business strategists. We also launched our Get E-commerce movement to help Kiwi businesses get online as soon as possible. And for both of these, you can go to zeald.com for more details on how to get the free e-commerce website and how to get an experienced digital business strategist to help you. Our next webinar will be on next Wednesday on September the 9th at 2 p.m. The topic is how to find the best website platform for your business. And this will be covering topics such as the objective of the website, target audience, functionality, your existing software, CRMs, applications, the difference between a lead generator and e-commerce site, and of course, budget. We have a library of webinars full of interesting and helpful topics that I please encourage you to go and check out. If you missed any content from today, this webinar will be posted later today there for your convenience to look through. Please share the webinars. We really just want to help as many businesses as possible get through this tough time. A special thanks to our expert, Lisa. I really appreciate your valuable insights and for the discussion today.
Awesome. Thanks, Rhonda.
Awesome. I wish you all a good day and good luck.
See ya.